Good evening. I'm the Texas Deaconess. I'm glad you could join me tonight for our next lesson in the study of women of the Bible. Hannah is who we're talking about tonight, the woman who is an ideal motherhood, the example of the perfect mother. And you know, that seems like a strange thing to say about a woman who gave away her child. But remember, she promised her son Samuel to the Lord. Samuel, who grew up to be the great judge and prophet of Israel. He anointed both David and Solomon as king. Scripture tells the stories of other barren women. Sarah and Rachel are two other examples. Hannah's pain made her seek help from the only truly one able to help her, and that was directly from God. Her husband, Elkanah, loved her and gave her the best of everything. She was his favorite wife. But his second wife, Peninnah, taunted her and made fun of her because she was unable to have children, and she made her life miserable. Childless, Hannah was not prayerless. Barren, she still believed, and in her pain she found refuge in prayer. In God's house, she sought the Creator to raise her into motherhood and to interfere with the law of nature on her behalf. How moving is the episode of Hannah pouring out her soul before God in his house and vowing that if he would give her a son, that she would give him back to God for his exclusive use. She bargained with God. She took her particular sorrow to God and prayed, not that Peninnah's joy might be less, but that he would take away the cause of her own anguish. She gave herself to prayer. First of all, her prayer was of a different kind of nature. It was without external speech. Her prayer was internal, and as she spoke to herself, she created the impression that she was drunk with wine. While she never said the prayer out loud, she breathed the wish in her soul and sent it up unspoken right to the throne of God. The old priest, Eli, not meaning to be unkind when he saw Hannah's lips moving, yet heard no words, somehow felt that Hannah was drunk and upbraided her for coming into God's house in such a condition. Hannah protested her innocence and declared that she had never taken strong drink, and she poured out her soul to Eli, who, discerning that her desire for a child was intense, for she wanted nothing for herself alone, assured her, "Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked." Down she went to her house, content, for she believed. She was no longer forlorn, sorrowful, heart-hungry, but joyous. God granted her wish, and the yearned-for child arrived, and she called his name Samuel, which means asked of the Lord. Hannah prayed and promised, and when her prayer was answered, she quietly redeemed her promise. More than anything in the world, she wanted a son, and when God gave her one, she gave him back to the Lord. Although Samuel was not born of the priesthood, his mother had sacredly pledged him to the Lord, and that pledge must be kept no matter what it might cost. So when weaned, Samuel was taken to the house of the Lord, there to abide forever. Once a year she visited him, and what a human touch we know about her, because every year she made him a new coat to wear. Her saintliness and sacrifice were rewarded, for she bore her husband 5 more children. As for Samuel, he grew up to reflect his revered mother's godliness. True to the meaning of his own name And like to his mother's prevailing prayer, he became a man of prayer all of his days. The lessons to be gathered from the fascinating story of Hannah are clearly evident. First of all, we think of all of Samuel became, we realize how the excellences of many men have usually been foreshadowed, if not exemplified, in the characters of their mothers. From Peninnah's harsh treatment of Hannah, we discover how a thoughtless, unloving word of ours can give sorrow to others. How necessary it is to guard our tongue. From Hannah's conduct, we first learn that the heart of God is a comforting retreat for a sorrowful soul. Whatever our particular sorrow or need may be, the man of sorrow will be able to help us. Hannah carried her trial and yearning to God in prayer, and she was answered. From Eli, who misjudged Hannah, we learn not to be too hasty in our conclusion. Too often we are wrong about others by misinterpreting their motives. Hannah's story teaches us to trust in the Lord, tells us about the power of prayer, and one of the most important things it tells us that if you choose to bargain with God, make sure, without any doubt or any reservation, that you are 100% ready and willing to keep your end of that bargain. Thank you for joining me in this study of women of the Bible. If you have any suggestions about any other women you might like to know more about, let me know. We'll work on it together. You know, with the help of the deacon, we might be able to answer most of your questions. May God continue to bless and forgive America. May God continue to bless the Republic of Texas. And may God continue to bless you and yours.